Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. Today, we have a very special interview. We actually have two guests today. This is our first time having two guests for an interview. We have Waheed and Giovanni from Smilesssvrs, which you guys know. Yeah, Michael and Andy have, well, Andy never talks, but they have been talking about Smilesssvrs for forever. And we are so excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Good morning. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
How you guys doing?
Doing excellent. Yeah, this is great. We've been waiting for this for a long time. This is really cool.
It feels like a full circle moment. You know, you guys were there right before launch, and then here we are now.
That's right. Yeah, let's talk about that. We did a Clubhouse. I think Trish asked me to do that, if I'm not mistaken. And I didn't really know you, Waheed, your art, but Andy did. He knew it from beforehand, and he was like, "Oh, I'm super excited about this one." So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And we went into that room, and so many people showed up, and it was like a straight love fest. And we got to hear your story, and that was really fun. You guys remember that? I guess it was about a month before you dropped or so. I think you were getting ready to drop a little sooner, and then you wanted to perfect a bunch of things.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's our branding in a sense. I feel like it's over time, just the whole like, oh, this is when it's coming. Nah, we got to do some stuff. Like,
yeah.
But no, that room was just. It was beautiful, scary, because before we were like, okay, we have to get ready. You know, people gonna come with the questions. We got to prepare ourselves. And we went in there, and it was just beautiful, you know, just to see, like, we had we're ready for whatever, but it's like, we did not expect it to turn into where just people like, nah, we just love this, you know, we're excited for this. And that, I feel like, in a sense, that gave us that little push of being like, nah, I got to go make sure it's down perfectly before we release it. That kind of faith people have in something they haven't even seen yet. Like, I have to make sure it's perfect to the T, you know, I have to double check everything, make sure, because like, that's a lot of faith to happen when it's something that's not come out, especially in a space where, you know, things are just, you know, how it go.
Yeah, no, definitely how it goes. People are very critical. But yeah, that was made it like so obvious. Everybody was so excited for it. And you did really do an amazing job. Like all of the little, like you look at these things and all of the little tiny details and the shadows and how all the traits come together. It's really special. I'm just still a giant fan, still collecting more and more, you know, as we go along. So. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Giovanni, your right-hand man here. You're from outside of Philly also. Andy and I are both from Northeast Philly.
Yep, we gotta represent the
that's right. Here. Of course. Very cool. So I guess how did you guys get into NFTs to begin with?
You want to take it, Waheed?
Either way. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I guess it's been about a little over a year now. We met on Clubhouse probably back in like the end of January. I guess we're kind of both in the same situation. Like NFTs were so new, and that's when Clubhouse started shifting from like, I guess the Web 2 world, and really a lot of NFT rooms were popping up. So Waheed and I just kept seeing each other in the same rooms. And then I have a buddy of mine who hosts a podcast, and I was like, I stumbled upon Waheed's art and looking through his Instagram and stuff. And I was like, oh, no, we got to talk to this kid. Like his story seems crazy. He's just putting out all this work, and it's crazy. But the evolution too, from like Lego characters to now a full body, almost realistic character was insane. So I hit him up and I was like, let's get him in a Clubhouse room. So we hosted a room and we're talking to him for like, I don't know, maybe half hour, an hour. The vibes were incredible, you know, and you could just tell how much he cared about the art and the little things, which I appreciate a lot. He's just a really good dude, and you could just tell how genuine and everything he is. So I try to keep those people close to me, and we just kept having conversations after that, always running into each other in the other rooms, talking behind the scenes. And then I ended up helping him mint his first couple NFTs and really getting introduced into the space. And then, that's my brother now. We talk more times than I talk to my mom and dad now. So we just kept the conversations going, and we had the idea of how do we create something that's a lot bigger, showcases his work, but welcomes in a lot more people into the Smiles community. So it's been crazy. It feels like it was 3-5 years ago, but it's only been, just over a year now.
Yeah, it sure does.
When I met this guy on Clubhouse, it was intimidating. He had a NASA shirt on. He was cheesing from ear to ear. I'm like, he knows way too much about the space. I was even afraid of hitting him up because, I didn't know much about crypto. I still don't know much about crypto. I don't know much about technology. I don't know. I was just here Clubhouse. I was on Clubhouse back. I learned about Clubhouse through Joe Budden podcast, a complete different thing. So Clubhouse on some completely different thing, right? And then I was seeing certain pages I follow on Instagram that used to make art and whatever on my Twitter pop up on I sold this for this much ETH. I'm like, what the hell is a ETH? I know ETA, that's the only those three acronyms I know. So I remember first hearing about Superwear and Shiesty designs. Remember the first time he had this big breakthrough, being 15 and going on Superwear, and he wakes up one day and his life has changed. I'm I remember I was at work. I'm like, damn, I really need to make art. I make art, but it's I cannot be doing this $11 an hour and putting 2 hours a day towards art, but I don't. And so I was on Clubhouse, and when NFTs popped in, I remember my friend sent me an invite. I put up a piece without knowing anything about the space. I was just seeing numbers. I was like, oh, if that's selling, my work should sell. I post this on Instagram for free, and it didn't. Right for 3-4 months, it was a humbling experience of knowing it's not gonna just sell because it's it was the entitlement, there was a certain level of entitlement that I went to the space. And then because of that, I was like, okay, now I have to redo this and actually learn the space. And that's where I was on Clubhouse, just on space to space, going from room to room. And that's where I met Gio. And like you said, we had a little conversation about the work, and he was just always there to show up for me. I don't know how to mint. I don't know what gas fees were. He was there explaining to me how this works and that works. And I had I remember after 4 months of just spending time on Clubhouse, I eventually ended up dropping my first piece that I think was what I consider my actual genesis. And the first one being more of a testing era. And, I did the genesis, and then I did a 4-part series that was released one every day, just kind of telling the stories of how I got into the space. And Gio was in those rooms helping me host it every day, and the beautiful thing was, back to the whole thing I talk about, that's our branding. It's crazy because during those drops, I was late to rendering one of the pieces. So I was midway through a drop, and I'm like, oh my God, I got time. I need someone to run the space room while I finish this piece. And me and Gio were talking, but we never really were in the DMs, messages. It was the first time I hit him up. I'm like, do you mind running this room for a couple minutes? I just need to get this render out. And that was the day where I felt it clicked, because he ran that whole room. He was there for the 4 pieces, monumental moments of my life where I really transitioned from just feeling I was someone that made something to an artist, and he was there. So when down the line, when Smilesssvrs came out, it came around, and when I was thinking about that, I'm Gio was the first person that popped in my head, because he was there showing love before there was any dollar amount attached to it, before there was any external focus beside the fact that he was just there to show love, and that's why I just want to be surrounded by those people. And it was the best decision of my life, and he's a brother to me, and there is no one else I would rather, it's not even a matter can I do it on my own? It's I don't even want to do it on my own. You know what I mean? I need him to be there because he's just a pillar, and
that's cool. You guys make a great team.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
We do. It's a yin and yang.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. So you started doing your art, and then you ended up coming up with this character, right? Is the character called Smiles, or how would you describe the character? What's your inspiration? He's always skateboarding and doing different things like that. So what's
funny thing about the character is that there's a lot of history to it. People think it's just this one character. The name AllSmilesss actually stemmed from that character because of everything that led up to that character being created. After I had done the Pooh Shiesty cover early in the year in 2021, and then going on Clubhouse, that's how Giovanni's attention or whatever. I was in school, I was still in school, I was an international student. So I was in school and I got a message from this, an email from this guy is like about working with Supreme. And I was like, sure you work with Supreme. You know what I mean? Everybody works with Supreme, you know? I remember sending the email to my girlfriend and be like, can you like verify this while I'm at school? Because I can't. I leave school, and she's like, nah, like he's legit. So we start talking, and they reached out. They're like, we really love what you did with Pooh Shiesty, and we want to like have you come and design one of our shirts for our summer collection. And I was like, it was the most craziest thing I've ever heard, because I'm like growing up and like, I mean, when I came to the States in 2015, that was like when Supreme was like the peak, you know, like everybody wanted Supreme. I couldn't afford Supreme. And people were like, oh, it's $40, $60. I'm like, well, I didn't have $60. You know, like it doesn't matter if it was $60, even that. And it was so crazy to hear that from them. And I think they gave me 24 hours to design something, you know? And I was like, okay, I get back and I had school the next day, but I sit down and I just create for the first time. And like, since the Pooh Shiesty cover, I actually create a piece that was in a sense for me with no guidelines, without it being a commission. Create this piece, send it to them. I'm super proud of it. Send it to them. Wait a day or two. They get back to me. They're like, nah, this is not it. I'm like, bro, like, this is really fire. Like, what do you mean this is not? They're like, no, we still want you. We just want you to go a different direction. Then they gave me a little bit more guidelines, but it was still pretty open. But the first piece I created, it was more from the heart. You know, there was no guidelines. So I was like, nah, like, I really love this. And I made 2 versions of it. I made a winter one and then a summer one. And both of them got rejected. And it really hurt me, because I'm like, this is like, at the time, my pinnacle, you know? And I'm like, damn, y'all said no to this? And so that character became my Genesis piece. And that's the very character that's now in the collection, you know? You know? I took that and redid it in a sense a little bit, just to kind of reflect me. Took Supreme out. I'm like, nah, screw that. You know, like we put AllSmilesss in, and we released the Genesis, and then Act 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from that very character stemmed like, you know, Smilesssvrs. And it's crazy to see that very, like one door closing, another one opening kind of thing. And that's where the idea of AllSmilesss came. Because when I posted that piece for my Genesis, I was really hurt, you know, because I'm like, I really wanted this to be like the Supreme piece. And I was like, what can you do? You just smile through it. Like, I'm like, I could hear like being all mad about it, but it's like, they still gave me an opportunity to make another one. So that's how AllSmilesss came. Is like, you know, rain or shine, you just got to keep smiling, keep it pushing. And I never in my mind thought that was going to lead up to what it is now. But it's crazy. There's a lot of backstory to that character that we see today.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty awesome. So what do we have going on here? Jennifer, you have any questions you had in mind, or I can keep going down my list a little bit? I don't want to monopolize the
No, you're good. Well, I just wanted to bring Andy in because Andy is our producer, by the way. For those of you that listen in, you guys know he's the backbone to our podcast, and he is very much into the Smilesssvrs. He has like, Andy, tell us about your Smilesssvrs, and also why you decided to like buy into Smilesssvrs, because I don't think that you've been as obsessed with the project as Smilesssvrs. So I just wanted to hear from you for a bit.
I just remember seeing that first piece, honestly. At least I think that's the one he's talking about, with him on the skateboard in the air in like the city. And it's just like, that piece like really drew me in instantly. It was just something about it. I could just see like this character story, or just like, you know, stuff that I thought about the character. It was like, and that's the kind of stuff I like in my art, whether it's like music or comics or movies. And then he kept going with like, you know, more pieces with the same character. And that's also something that like, you know, you can kind of get into. And I like kind of like the serial nature of that. But I don't know, man, the art's amazing. It's like so detailed. I just like, I have 5 red and 2 silver right now.
Wow.
Let's go.
Oh,
man.
I minted 4. I still have one of the ones I minted and kind of like, you know, shuffled around the ones in between. But
that's beautiful. I think that's the most beautiful part, I guess, with our collection is we're obviously by default you have rarity baked into properties and stuff, but we never went on like an official rarity scale, like a rarity tools or something like that. Because at the end of the day, what we're seeing the most is that people are copying pieces that they truly resonate with. And like every character, every trait, every clothing item, it all has a backstory to it. But then we have our own, Waheed has his own, but then it's also really cool to see people's own interpretations of what that means to them.
You think some of those clothes will ever make it to the real world? You know, I need the what is it, the orange and green, those like construction cargo pants. I need those. So if we can get those.
Like I during high school and stuff, like during the summers, I used to work construction. And so the whole collection, I remember, you know, when I first came back, like when the first piece I put out that didn't sell, I was sitting here like, damn, maybe it's not selling because it's not futuristic enough. It's not crypto enough. You know what I mean? Like at that time, everything that was selling was like this futuristic neon cyberpunk city like art. And I'm like, that's not me. You know, that's not the stuff that I pull my inspirations from. And I'm like, even when I came to the collection, we weren't trying to come up with this crazy traits that are like, you get like a plane that's behind them or something, like, you know what I mean? It was more of like, nah, like it's a construction vest. It's a you know, construction helmet, or it's this and that. And it's always kind of focused on the daily stuff that I went through, you know what I mean? And it was beautiful to kind of see people kind of building that stories. But when it comes to like turning them into physicals, for sure, you know, like that's inevitable. And down the line, yeah, and there's like, as this becomes like a clothing brand and stuff, in a sense, I look at this collection as almost like a mood board, you know, for me pulling all my inspirations, you know. Obviously, like when you look at the shoes and stuff, they're heavily inspired by like real shoes, you know what I mean? Like, if not completely. And for me, it's always a matter of like, this was my mood board of like, these are the places I put my inspiration. So music, this, that. And then when we started our own brand of clothing, you can tell where these references come. And when we started creating our own things, you could always reference back to the collection of like, oh, this is where the branded clothing is going, but it all stemmed from this collection where these are the influences, you know what I mean? We might have a collection that might be all construction vibes, you know what I mean? And that, it makes sense because it's like, this is where it's coming from. Or one that might be all like polos or like, you know what I mean? All these different stuff. And we want to kind of focus on like where that mood board, where those it stems from. And so this collection is almost like our foundation piece of like, everything we built from is coming from this, you know? And so all those pants and stuff for sure. Like that's
cool. I'm gonna be first in line for. I love those ones in particular with the cargo like the cargo pockets in the front, and they're really nice. I love nice comfy pants like that. So love those.
You got some things cooking.
Nice. Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, I think it's actually really interesting that Waheed chose to like kind of, you know, it's just this single character. Like, you know, a lot of NFT projects, there's a bunch of different characters, right? And it's like they're all kind of different, you know, people, or it just kind of looks like they're different people. But you kind of decided to choose like, okay, here's the one character, and then let me kind of build around that and do all these, you know, different clothes and different you know, colors of skins or whatever. And I think that's really interesting because I'm like trying to think, and I'm like, I don't know what any other projects that are like that kind of like do it like that. So that's really interesting. Also, let me see if Andy has this pulled up, but Michael was talking about Smilesssvrs on the podcast before it even came out, which you guys launched in, was it October 2021?
Yeah.
Was it October or September? Yeah.
Or September or something.
Come out September. You know how we move, you know, we push that back.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, here's a clip from our September 8th show last year.
Let's talk about, do you know about Smilesssvrs? Do you know Waheed AllSmilesss on Twitter?
No.
Familiar at all? He's really cool. We actually, my friend Trish asked me to host a Clubhouse for him, for his project, which I did. And I didn't know too much about it. About a week before, Andy had said on Twitter, our producer Andy, he said, you know, I'm setting notifications for this. And I saw Andy message that, and I was like, you know, something I got to keep my eye on. Later that night, I saw them do a room, and I recognized his art. His art's actually blowing up. This project's going to be really big. I think there's 8,888 of them. He is a really impressive artist and person. He's 21 years old. He's from Afghanistan. He came to the U.S. 6 years ago, and he's built this career. He's super humble. The team behind him is like following him. They're like everybody was talking so highly. It was really impressive. He's impressive. The art is awesome, and you should check it out. It's
what is it? Oh, Smilesss.
Smilesssvrs, Smiles with 3 S's.
Are they on Twitter?
Yep, they're on Twitter.
Oh,
Yep.
Smilesssvrs.
You'll see that little yellow symbol. It's going to be big.
Oh, I think I spelled it wrong.
I would.
Oh,
SMILE.
oh, there. Oh,
So
wait.
AllSmilesss is Waheed.
Oh, AllSmilesss. Okay, I found it.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it's really cool. His art's dope. I mean, honestly, he's like super, super impressive. He's going to be a star.
Wait, is he the one that did the avatar things with the hair? Wait, no, like the full body, and they're like this. He's carrying a skateboard and everything for his profile picture.
Yeah, that's his art, and
know.
that's what the project's going to be like. I'm not. He's had some. He has some really popular pieces. Like I think like 11. I've seen like some big sales on his one-on-one stuff, but I'm not sure which ones you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it is this. Oh my gosh! I just clicked on the Twitter. It says, he said, "Bro, what the f? My artwork is on Jimmy Fallon."
Oh wow, yeah, dude. I'm telling you, he's a star. Like, yeah, check out that project. Try and get on that whitelist. I would suggest that for anybody. That project's looking really strong. I actually remember in that Clubhouse. I remember specifically. It was. I think were we in August and you dropped in September? Or were we in September and you dropped in August?
I think it was September, and then
exactly.
we dropped.
And he dropped it. Okay, because I remember. I think Waheed said the words like, "We're going to drop by the end of September, no matter what." And then it still didn't. I was like, that's all good. And but, normally in the NFT space, people freak out on stuff like that. But with your guys' project, did they freak out? Oh, really? Yeah. Did they?
Trust me, I was on Discord. Like, the thing is, so we obviously pushed the drop date, but then we launched, and then the rendering, right? The thing is, I had to go through 8,880 of them to make sure I do quality checks, right? The art was done, but going through all of that is like, to be honest, everybody was moving, right? There's only a handful of people I trust to do that, Gio was taking care of ComplexCon. Coder was there to, like, the people that I trusted that could look at the art and find those stuff in case we missed it were busy doing stuff. So I'm like, I have to do this alone. Me, my girl, she went through 8,888, and then I did.
Wow.
And we caught little stuff that I was like, no, I got to go fix this, right? I got to go fix this. Because for me, the biggest thing was like, I don't want this collection to come out and someone be like, so the one-on-one, because a lot of people love this off the one-on-ones. So I'm like, if you like the quality of the one-on-ones, this has to be on par. You know what I mean? Like, I can't drop a collection and be like, it's kind of there. No, like, I want to treat these each one like one-on-ones because they each one like one-on-ones. You know what I mean? So we went back, and I remember doing all that. We finally got it rendered like 3-4 times until it was finally done. We uploaded to try to upload it to IPFS, and then it's like, and we were supposed to reveal that night. I remember, and we're like, reveal is coming at like 9 p.m. 6 p.m. comes around. I do all the quality checks, everything's ready. We try to upload to IPFS. He's like, 7 hours of uploading. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, how are we gonna tell it? And I called Gio. I'm like, Gio, yeah, we're gonna mess the deadline again.
Wait, meanwhile, I'm at one of my best friend's weddings in Georgia. I would literally walk away from the event that's going on to take this call.
It was just crazy. Because like the thing is, I get the frustration from both, like, again, we put out deadlines, we missed them, so that's our fault. But at the same time, I'm just like, bro, 7 hours more, like, nothing's gonna change. Trust me, like, it's gonna come, like, just go to bed, wake up in the morning, it'll be there, But it was, yeah. So we did get a lot of heat that day. But when it did come out, I'm happy people enjoyed for what it was, and that made it all worthwhile for sure.
I was fine, waiting for it because I was excited about the quality. So I mean, I'm glad you took the time to do that. And I was just like, I don't care how long it takes, man. If this is anything like those one-on-ones, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, you guys were honest about it too. I remember the whole time, like, you were letting people know, this is what's going to happen. When you had the different levels of the pre-sale. The pre-sale was, I wouldn't say complicated, but it was like intricate, where the holders of your one-on-one art, they could mint 10 on level 1, then there was level 2, level 3, whatever it was. Yeah, I was the same as Andy. I was able to mint 4. And you guys actually helped me out. Like, my wallet address wasn't on there. I forget, it might have even been you, Gio, but I forget who it was. Somebody had to help me out and get it up on there, like on the fly. I was really appreciative of that, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, it was definitely a stressful week. I'll say that.
I bet.
We didn't sleep for 7 days, and our engineer is based out of Italy, so the time zone is obviously a thing. But I was up till 7-8 o'clock in the morning all week with him the entire time.
Yeah.
But I think I'm really happy with how things went, just because we obviously launched like the Discord and all this stuff before we even started talking about a generative project. Like it was just Waheed's one of one collectors and the small group that are always supporting. So we wanted to really make sure that we did everything we could to give those people an opportunity to get in on Mint, and all the supporters that, you know, really did come in early, because at the end of the day, they helped us get to where we were at that point. So we wanted to make sure that we did everything we could to reward it. And gas was like crazy at the time. That was before all the smart contract efficiencies now, and we're doing much better. But at the time, ETH was all-time high. Gas was thousands of dollars to mint a couple pieces. So it was a little more intricate, but we did what we could.
It was like almost like the market, there was a lot of projects coming out that was like not doing well. So we're sitting here like, damn, we did wait until the last moment when things are falling apart to really release this, huh? Don't we? You know, we're sitting there, like, you would open your MetaMask, it'd be like $300 gas. I'm like, bro, I haven't even, like, I'm just opening up MetaMask. Like, why am I paying gas? Like, I remember that day was just stressful. And I understood, like, you know, for us, it was not about like just selling out simply. It was a matter of like, we want to get this in the hands of as many people as we can, and people that don't know about NFT. So this day, you know, people like, only this % of Smiles is listed. A lot of them are not. I'm like, that's because I know a lot of people that bought it that don't even know how to list. You know what I mean? Like, we got people to buy it that don't know how to flip, don't know how to, they're just there. They're like, I'm just here because I'm here, you know? And for me, it's like, I do it for those people, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like, I always say, like, if someone can flip and get their money to be able to change their life in any form, like, I've done my part as an artist. You know, like, that's more than I can, because those people allowed me, like, use my art to allow it to change my life. And now, if I can use that to be able to change someone else, that's beautiful. But a lot of the people that I know, like some friends, they don't even know what flipping means. They don't know what listing even means. They were just like, oh, we're on the Mint page. We made MetaMask. We bought it. And then they close it and they change as their profile picture. And whenever I post something about Smiles, oh, that's dope. Like, that's what it is. And for me, that's so much more impactful, because it's like, there's no intention. There's no agenda attached to it. It's just like, you're here for the very thing that we wanted to do, which is create a community that felt like it was lacking in the space. You know, me and Gio came in, we couldn't fit in any community. So we're like, screw it, we're going to make our own. And see people kind of resonate with that. And over time realize, like, there was many of me and Gios in the space that just were looking for the same thing. And it's like, but once you create that space, they come and pop in and like show up. And I remember one of the community members we brought in, he said, like, he used to always post lyrics, right, from Jay-Z and stuff. And usually people would always think he was like writing that himself and be like, oh, you okay? Like, everything good? And he's like, the first time somebody actually responded to like a lyric he had tweeted about, like, it was a Jay-Z lyric or something, that actually someone responded with like the following line of the lyric was like, with a Smiles profile picture, right? And he was like, nah, like, this is the kind of community we want to be with. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I tweet 24/7, just lyrics. So I'm like, it's beautiful to see like those connections kind of happen, you know? But it's beautiful.
You actually make a really good point there, and it's something that I wanted to bring up with you guys. So you build a community. A lot of the people are people that just wanted to buy your art and have your art. In the NFT space, it's a little bit interesting because, you know, you put out this project and you're selling your art, but now everybody feels like an investor, and they're like, when's it going to pump? When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? How do you guys navigate that? What do you think about that? That's way different. In the traditional art world, you know, somebody would be out there, they would sell art and person would be happy with their purchase and that was it. But now in NFTs, it's really not like that at all. Like, these communities really want to see all kinds of stuff. How do you guys navigate that?
I think for us, it's really just, we know what we're building towards. And a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, we're just hyper conscious of the fact that, like, we are early. I know everyone says that, but the reality is the space has been around for less than a year in most cases. A lot of people getting into the space, they've only been here for a month, 2 months, maybe even 6 months, but still, in the grand scheme of things, that's a very short period of time. The reality is it's the Wild West right now. We don't know what the next 6, 12, 18 months is going to look like, but we know behind the scenes what we're building towards. And a lot of the stuff that's coming at us, it's good in theory, right? Like, it's good to always take the feedback, because then we can maybe input it into something that we already had in motion. But at the end of the day, we are building a fashion brand here. We know what we want to do. Waheed's an amazing artist. Like, even some of the stuff that he's put out in some of his one-of-ones recently, the clothing is just so different that from anything that we've seen before. And I get so excited at the fact of just being able to bring some of this into the real world and fruition and have people rock this in their everyday life. So we know what we're building towards, and it's just almost horse blinders in a way. Like obviously take the feedback, adjust and adapt as we need to, but we always got to stay focused on our vision.
For sure. And on top of that, it's always been, like I feel like the quote unquote pressure from the community usually comes when you see other projects, going crazy and you're like, oh, what about this, But we realize like a lot of the stuff in the space can't really be backed up with data. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff happen and they just happen. You know what I mean? And like, it's really hard to justify certain things of why they are what they are. You know what I mean? Like the most quote unquote successful project in the space is not even a year old. You know what I mean? Like Bored Apes is the most successful, but they're about to just hit their 1 year anniversary. So I'm like, there's not even enough data out here to tell people like what's the blueprint for success or how even success is defined, because it's success hitting a certain floor price, a success, or like, what does that even mean? Because for me, it's not about gatekeeping and being like, nah, you can't join my community. We're going to put a specific price point and you can't come in. You know what I mean? Because when I look at that, I'm like, that's the very things I was fighting against, coming into the space. Because I didn't have, like, talking about Supreme, like, I didn't have enough money to get Supreme. So I would be hypocritical, like, turn around and be like, I want my collection to be an exclusive thing where no one can get a hands on it. Like, you're kind of becoming the very thing you were fighting against, And for me, it was about, like, we know what we want to build. And back to the whole thing, like, the community we're trying to build might not even be here yet. They might not even know about NFTs yet. You know what I mean? So we understand, like, we're building something that when the masses understand, the people that we like interact on a daily, be able to come into the space and learn about NFTs, we're there for them. We're ready for them, So for us, it's like, we want to build what we want to build, and just kind of have our own vision, And like, obviously things come into place, like new ideas, new people, opportunities, and we want to make sure we're adaptable to it. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we stay true to ourselves and not get changed by like, oh my God, we need to do an airdrop right now. Like, why? There is no need to do an airdrop right now for us. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is, like, we need to build on what we want to do. It's like, we haven't released, like, we want to do a lot of stuff with the main collection. Is like dropping another collection on top of that for what? You know what I mean? Like, that just, you're just giving into the whole idea of like, oh, everybody else is doing a collection, we should like do another one. And so it's good to have like people like Gio and all these people were like, we kind of land on the same page of like, we're not doing that? No, okay, perfect. Like, I understand that there's a mutual understanding. And so we want to make sure we do it our way, you know what I mean? And that might take a little longer, and that might not be the go to the moon, we're going to the moon kind of route, but it's organic, you know what I mean? It's always been that from the ground up.
I think that's like, I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but that's the biggest takeaway that I hope people take from our project, is that you don't need to follow the Bored Apes route. You don't need to follow the Doodles route. They're all amazing projects doing great things. But at the end of the day, if you're just trying to copy everyone, in most cases than not, you're probably too late, because there's 1,000 other projects also doing it. So we just want to, carve our own lane, stay true to what our vision is.
I love that. I remember. So when you guys first launched, there was like an initial pump up to like whatever it was, 0.8, almost an ETH, I think, even right off the bat. And then for a long time, for a couple months, it was between 0.2 and 0.3. And that's when I was telling everybody. I was like, and Giovanni, I think you and I even had a quick message about it. And I was just telling you how much I loved it. And you were like, yeah, I don't even, and I was saying people are crazy how low they're selling it for. And you were like, I don't even care what the floor is right now. I know what we're doing. And I remember you said that, and I was like, yep. And that's what really let me know. And like, because people that know me know that I don't like telling people what I think is good, what I think will do well. I'll always say what I'm doing and why. But this one in particular, I was just like, between 0.2 and 0.3, I have a couple friends that bought a bunch of them. I know some people in our Discord and from the podcast bought, and there's a bunch of people that have said to me, I wish I listened to you when you were telling us to buy them between. I just remember every time it got to 0.3, people would start undercutting down to 0.2. I just kept buying myself. And I have a few reds. I have a bunch of silvers. I kept buying the silvers. I like those a lot.
The silver surfers, baby.
Yeah. Silvers are good. Like it's all really good. But I like the ones with the big smiles and the whistles. Like there's a lot of projects out there that look similar, like the 2D cartoons and stuff. This is something really unique, and no one's even really been able to copy it like that since. It's a really, really special one. I'm glad to hear how you guys are talking about it.
Yeah. It comes back to what Jennifer was kind of saying too, about the whole like character design, right? Like about
Yeah.
using just one character instead of multiple ones. Because for us, it was a matter of we're not trying to pander. You know what I mean? We're like, because I had people reach out. They're like, what about like woman smiles, or like what about this? Are you gonna add this? Are you gonna add that? I'm like, no, like not off the bat. You know what I mean? Like this is telling my story. Because if I add all these characters, they don't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like these characters are just added to be able to feel like I'm hitting a quota of like, oh, you got this? Check. You got this? Check. Like that's not what this project is. It's not a checklist of trying to make everybody happy. It's my story. I'm an artist, right? You don't hit up Van Gogh and be like, hey, so what, are you gonna do another one? Like, you know, like that. But he's like, nah, this character that's in this collection has a story, you know? So when I do Woman Smiles, it's gonna be in my one-on-ones before it's in the collection. Like I want to tell these characters stories before I introduce them and be like, here, like, why would I buy a character I don't even know? Like, why would I even like emotionally invest in a character that I don't even know much about? You know what I mean? And like, I guess it's just part of storytelling. And I'm a big fan of like being able to tell a narrative and a story. I mean, that's what makes us human at the end of the day, you know? And for me, it's always been about like, you keep one consistent character and you just put them in different environments. Cause that's how it's always been for me. And like, it is for everybody, right? Like on a constant day to day, you're just put in different scenarios, like different people groups, and you just got to make sure you adapt. And, you know, like, and that's how this was like, no matter what kind of environment it is, no matter what he's wearing, it's him, you know, he's consistently him. And it's funny because we're talking about the red character. That one was actually added, like that skin color was added like towards the very end because it was the last 2 weeks and it was a lot of frustration. Things were like going well, and then we realized everything went wrong, you know what I mean? And it was just a lot of frustration and like adding on to that, you know, and like that color initially, like it was only like 4 skin colors or something, or 3 skin colors, and then that one added at the end because I'm like, nah, I'm angry. Like that, we added that, and then we added a little like smoke coming out his ears. Like there was a lot of stuff that was built as the project went on, kind of reflecting the time it was created. So it's good to see like people liking like certain things. Like once we start telling the stories, it'll be fun to be able to have people see that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And also, I was just thinking about, because in the beginning you were saying like, you know, you started minting some of your NFTs and they weren't selling. You were saying you started for a couple months, like, you know, your stuff like wasn't selling, and then, you know, you started coming out with these one-of-ones, people started buying them, and then you came out with a collection after that, which I always think is smart when people do like a little like, you know, market testing first, launch some NFTs, and then drop a collection and not just go straight to the collection. But what was that process like? And maybe even for artists listening now, that it's like, you know, maybe they don't have an audience, or they, you know, they're just getting into NFTs, but it's like, you know, how do they get themselves out there? How do they get people to notice their work? Maybe, you know, they're incredible artists like yourself, but, you know, it's not just like you had said earlier, it's not just about being an incredible artist. You need eyeballs, you need people wanting your stuff. So what advice would you give to people in that situation that you were, you know, in the very beginning?
Honestly, it comes down to, you know, I was in a crossroad of, do I switch my style up and make something that will be, in a sense, acceptable by the market, but not true to myself? Or do I stay true to myself and that might not sell in the market, you know? And I just chose the latter, you know? And it all comes down to being able to, I think, you know, like when it comes, like even back to like the word community, right? Like that's thrown out so like you need to build a community as an artist, you need to do that. It's like, I don't think anybody, if you're an artist, don't focus on the community. Focus on your art and the community will build around it, you know? Because the thing is, I just think the art, like the foundation, like stones should be so strong, because if you build a whole community, but the foundation is not strong, when things get bad, they have nothing to go back to, you know what I mean? When you have that strong foundation, for me, it's like the art. When the floor was at 0.2, people were still on Discord talking about, oh, look at this, look at that, right? Because the art was there. But now if the art is there, like art is not there, it's really hard to have people engaged when things are not going well. Like, why am I sticking around? You know what I mean? Like, so I always say, just, I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, just true to who you are and make art that like is true to you. And over time, it's inevitable, right? Like you just need to get eyes on it and not necessarily need to feel like you're selling the art, right? When I was reaching out to people for them to look at my work, I wasn't reaching out on some like, hey, buy my work. I was showing them like, after my Genesis sold, that's when I reached out to people. You know what I mean? And I was on some like, look at my work. That's it. Like, it's already sold. I don't need your money. Like, I don't need you to put any money in my. Just look at it. I just want you to see, like, this is something that maybe you have not seen before. You know, this is my vision for this thing. And I think that was the most successful route for me, where it was like, it was less to do with like, I need people to buy my work. It was more of like, I just need people to see my work. You know what I mean? So that was whether that was just DMing thousands of people, you know, like I literally created a generic text. Like I was like texting thousands of people because I'm like, I have to do what I got to do. You know what I mean? I was doing that. I was on Clubhouse rooms. But honestly, a lot of these connections formed because we were just kicking it. Like a lot of these people that are like, even the team that was built, all these people that are now part of the team is like, we were talking and we were friends before there was any business involved, you know? And I think that's so important is like, you start talking to people, you treat them as humans, and you walk into these conversations, you walk into these rooms, you walk into these spaces with not an agenda, but just there to interact with people. Good people come around, like, you know, like one of my biggest sales happened from somebody that I met, like that caught my first, like my second NFT. And it just ended up because I was telling my story and I was explaining it. And he hit me up. He's like, I'm a fellow brown guy in Toronto. He's like, I love your work. And here we are now, you know what I mean? And we connected. It's like, you can't put a price tag on that. You can't chill that. You know, you just got to be there and you got to experience that, you know?
That's actually one of the best points and one of the best pieces of advice. Anytime anybody asks me, I'm new to the space, how do I get out there? You go and make friends. You go on spaces, you go on Clubhouse, you interact with people. That is the exact way to do it. Don't always just go on and chill. You just go on and be yourself and make friends. Mm-hmm. And if you're there and you're dedicated, it's gonna pay off for you. That's awesome. That's really good advice.
Andy, did you have any questions at all? I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask a question if you wanted.
Oh, I don't know. Any favorite? You always see like a famous person or two pick pieces up around. Do you have any favorite famous holders that have grabbed the smiles?
We got a few, but I think my favorite one is Jerry Lorenzo from Fear of God. We're a fashion brand, so I personally love Fear of God. I've been a big fan for a while, so that was really cool to see.
Nice. For me, honestly, the Lil Baby situation was just wild because my third NFT ever was called My Turn. It was literally based off his album, like that era of like being able to kind of take ownership and be like, you know, if there's no road, you just got to pave it yourself, you know? And it's crazy. You put out that piece, you call it after this artist that you really love, and fast forward a couple months, and that artist that you kind of like named your whole piece about comes around and buys like a smile. You know, for me, that was such a humbling moment. Is like things coming full circle where you just got to put energy out there in the world. You don't know when it's gonna like come back for circle. It might not be in a month or two, but when it does, it was just. I remember calling Gio. I'm like, I don't know what the hell just happened. But what is going on? You know, like it was. So that's probably one of my, just because of like the impact his music has on my my life and how like motivated that gets me to be able to push through and all that, and to have that like the artist that inspires you kind of going around and like buying art from you is beautiful. You know.
Oh, I got to throw in. I forgot about one too. Alexis Ohanian. I'm coming from Web 2 startups, so just seeing him come in and cop a piece, like that was mind blowing. I've read his books. I followed his career through Reddit. Like that was a full circle moment too.
It's cool seeing who's like, you know, like getting in and who's like hip. But like that tweet that you you kind of like shared it in a tweet, and that's when like Twitter can be like storytelling, because that was like awesome, kind of going through like the little. Like the beginning of it, where you were telling about how that started with Little Baby, and you were like pitching that, and like, and then just getting to the end of it, it's just like, you know, like 3 acts. It was just like an awesome. It's like when Twitter can actually be like, you know, not a shitty place and kind of an awesome storytelling,
right? When the threads are not exposing people.
Yeah. Thread below.
Yeah. Nah, I know.
Thread guy is one of your biggest fans.
I love Thread guy. Uh-huh. The thing is with him, bro, like he had sent me a message. I had missed it, but like I remember when he put out that thread and I read it and I'm like, damn, he knows more about me than I know about myself. Like he started adding up all the sales with my one-on-ones. I'm like, damn, that's what I did. Like, so it's just a cool guy. Just knowing like he was like around my age and connected. I love that man. Good energy.
That's what's up. Yeah, a lot of the NFT influencer people on Twitter are big fans. I know. I know a whole bunch of them that I'm friends with. They're also fans of your project. And that's always going to help in the future when there's news out there. Those kind of people are going to share it, you know. You don't have to have that, but that's another reason why I'm so confident in the way it's because just like, you know, people love this project. Like as far as like the OGs and the people in the know, you know, this project's amazing.
And I think one part of that whole influencer thing that like worked a little differently for us was those influencers in a sense got onboarded because the community like put the work in there, like, and their mentions, you know what I mean? It wasn't us on like, we're reaching out to you and we got to give you a certain amount of percentage. You're going to do this and this, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to give you money or do it again. It's like, nah.
It's organic.
Yeah,
it's
we're going to do it from the ground up. And then it's like you work until you can't be ignored kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have to reach to these influencers and like being able to connect with them. It was almost like on some, they really were like, we're talking to as like human to human. It wasn't on some like transactional. And that was beautiful too, you know? Because they kind of got on boarded because they wanted to get on boarded instead of us feeling like we kind of paid our way into like that section of it for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you guys, so if you had to kind of articulate what you think the future you want to look like, I know a lot, you know, fashion, hip hop is a lot of the ethos of the project. What do you guys foresee? What's your dream in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? What do you want to see out of the project?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's about like honestly, it's in a sense, I look at art as more than just the product, but also like a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like being an artist is more than just what you create; it's how you move. And for us, there just seems like I had so much ideas of stuff that I pull from, and being able to kind of mix, you know, my understanding of like pop culture and Western culture coming here. And mixing that with like my influences from Afghanistan, you know, very different lifestyles, extremely different, but it's so crazy.
You don't say,
you know, the crossovers and stuff. But for us, it's a matter of like, I want to like clothes, obviously being a major of it. Like for me, it's like, I want to have clothes where like, it's more than just, I treat clothes like canvases, you know what I mean? Like, it's walking canvases. I want to treat them at that. Music obviously being part of it, knowing how messed up the music industry is with artists and how, you know, they make sense of $1 million made from like labels, being able to kind of shift that and being able to allow an opportunity for artists to be able to come through like Smiles and almost use it as a platform rather than like, we're going to screw you over and we're going to take all your money and you'll good luck. You know what I mean? Like that's how labels do. Doing that, clothing, you know, we got festivals lined up, but we want to like AR and stuff, like also tap into the metaverse, but also making it where like it goes into the real world, you know, like we're a big fan of, you know, AR and VR and metaverse, this and that. But at the end of when those things turn off, you got to exist in the real world. You got to still go outside. You still got to, and we wonder, what do you want to embrace that and turn like Smiles into like a household name in that sense, you know, being able to, treat clothes as canvases, you know, that's the goal.
It really seems like cool. I mean, if you just look at the pieces, like, you know, if you're on Smilesssvrs on OpenSea and you're just like looking through, it's like it's very like the clothing that you chose to like design for the character, it's very different and it's very like, whoa, like you could really tell that you're very into fashion. And it's like, and you know, a lot of the pieces are androgynous, you know, where it's like, you know, it has like a little masculine and feminine style to it. You know, there's like, you have like a skirt and like a male character. And I think it's very like, it can also be a bit of like that, like shock factor thing, which is what makes it like cool. Because it's like, whoa, like, you know, I haven't seen somebody wearing this, like this looks different, you know? And I think that's also really special. And it's like, you know, the guys wearing crop top, just like a little bit different that I think is kind of like enticing to people. And they're kind of like, whoa, like, you know, what is this? Like, and I think that that's like what fashion is kind of supposed to do. Right. And I think a lot of projects is like, oh yeah, you know, just like a t-shirt or whatever, like hoodie. In the background, my art is like they're just wearing some hoodies, you know, that you could tell like you really took your time like designing like the clothes and that's just like so interesting, you know, that's like, wow, like you thought of this and you know, you just like decided to do it. And I also, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say,
Go
I
ahead,
also think that like it's like this project like kind of is like giving you creative freedom to feel like you can do what you want. And when Michael was asking, oh, like what are your plans in the future, it just made me think like, you know, as somebody that's like a creative and an artist, it's like, you know, you probably have so many different ideas, and it probably feels really good to feel like you can kind of execute on whatever you want, you know, being that this is like your project and everything.
Yeah, 100%. And for us, like, even when we're going and creating the traits and stuff we have coming up, is like explaining why those traits exist, you know? Like, it's more than just like, oh, we created this and there it is, you know what I mean? Like, explaining down the line, like, why that, like the kilt he's wearing, the little skirt thing. I remember the first time ASAP Rocky had worn that, you know, I think in 2016. And there was a lot of backlash, you know, coming from him. But I'm like, and he went on to explain like how like he was wearing it. For me, I'm like, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Like, it's not supposed to be, fashion is not like what is the most popular thing. It's about staying true to who you are and how you move, you know, like the best fit you can wear is the one you're comfortable with, you know, wearing. And so that's how I always treat it, is like, it's always about taking a risk, but also staying true to yourself. And staying true to yourself at times could just be taking that risk because you are one-on-one in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody was true to themselves, this world will be crazy, like unique. You know what I mean? And that's how I treat it, is like people that took those like leaps of faith of being able to stay true to himself, even on the face of like, that's not cool to wear. Like, oh, that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like back home, like wearing like shorts outside is crazy. Like, you don't even wear shorts, you know, you only wear it if you're going and playing soccer like professionally, you know. But like wearing shorts outside is not a normal thing, you know. And like, but if you wear it, that's a rebellious thing. But it's not, because that if you want to wear shorts, you should be able to wear shorts, you know what I mean? And that's how I treat it, is like this collection is going to come down with those stories of explaining why these traits are added, why these traits mean something, why are this here and there. So I'm excited to finally have like people build their narrative, but also us kind of explaining to them this was the foundation, and you kind of like people could take their pieces and kind of run with it and explain like their versions of it, like the grocery bag being there. Like, you know, I used to work at school as a work study position, and like I worked at like a food shelf, you know, and at the end of the day, like my boss would tell me like, oh, if there's anything left, you can take it home. So I would call my mom and be like, okay, so I have these stuff left. What do you want me to bring home? You know, like, because I only worked $11 an hour, so I couldn't contribute a lot to the household in terms of like money or rent and stuff. So that was my way of giving back to my family. You know what I mean? And being able to put that in the collection, now people building their own little narratives around it, is like this is beautiful. You know, something you think is so personalized to you, and you put it out there, and then now everybody can create their own stories of it. That's what I think art is supposed to be at its core. You know, like it's there for you, but it's a bigger picture. You know.
I love that. Can you explain why they all have skateboards? What's the story behind that?
So the whole thing with is like growing up in Afghanistan, you know, like we don't even, I don't think now we might, but like we don't even have like a paved enough road to skateboard. Like that's not a thing. But I always grew up like loving it, because I had some friends, you know, I went to an international school back home that like skateboarded and all that stuff. And I grew up playing the Tony Hawk games, right? But it's like, damn, like the most accessible sport back home is soccer. You know, you just need a soccer ball, and you just need a little bit of a semi-flat land, and you'll be good. You know what I mean? But skateboarding was not one of those things. And when I came here, I had friends that skateboarded, but I felt like I was too old to start. You know, like I came here and I was 15. I'm like, nah, y'all felt so many times when you're 7 that your bones are made to be able to skateboard. If I fall now, like I'm gonna break a bone and never recover, you know? So like, and so for me, it was always a matter of like, when I created that Genesis, that's why when Supreme hit me up, they didn't give me a guideline. They were just like, oh, can you send us some examples of stuff that you wanted it to be? So when I created that piece, it was a sense of like, I didn't get to grow up in New York. You know, I'd always loved New York because like growing up watching Spider-Man, I knew about New York before I even knew what the United States was, you know, like that's how it was. Like loving skateboarding and like all the stuff that I felt like I never got to experience growing up. But now I had a chance of having my like digital stuff kind of go through those experiences, you know? So that's what it was, is like all the stuff that I felt like the last piece I put up, like the snowboarding one. I've never snowboarded. I went skiing, but like I've always wanted to, right? But it's those fears that you can't do in real life, and now you have an opportunity to bring those in real life and like in a sense like the virtual world. So that's kind of how like the skateboarding evolved, and the whole walking thing with the suitcase. Like I've been traveling from place to place all my life. You know, like at 15 I came here, and then I have to move again and again. It's always been a hard reset, you know. And like even building those friend groups has been so tough because you get to move again, you know. And so like that's why we even making the character always walking and always having the bag. It's like he's always on the go. It's just like how we were like doing it. And like so there's a lot that goes into it that we're just excited to finally being able to kind of reveal and show people like that there's more to it than just like aesthetically pleasing, I
have one last question here, and then Michael, I'll give it back to you, and we can wrap this up shortly. But I'm just curious, Waheed, how you learned how to be an artist. I don't know how to word that, but it's like, how did you learn how to create art and like be so good? Like, can you tell me the story about that?
Wait, you're an artist?
No, honestly, in a sense, I look at it, it was out of like necessity, now that I really dig back into like, because I didn't grow up making art, I guess I had some sketches when I was in like second grade, but like I didn't really grow up making art. And in high school, I would edit some of my friends' picture, like move the saturation, make it like great, but like nothing really insane, And then the pandemic hit, and I couldn't go outside and play soccer, Like I'm like, my mom is like 50, like I can't not put her at risk in like of COVID or anything. So I had to stay home. And for my own like mental health, like I was like, I gotta do something to like relieve this like stress that's causing, like the whole world's on pause and everybody's in stress mode, especially so I remember I had like a computer, like a 2012 Lenovo computer, and it was not at all made for anything, and back to the whole thing when I was seeing people like I was seeing certain pages that I follow on Instagram, they were making art about specific album covers. I'm like, I wonder what they use. And I remember one day he posted on his story that was a little icon of this little program, and I went and Googled it. I didn't know what the name was until I found it. It was like a free 3D program. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And we downloaded, and it was the beginning of the pandemic. That's when I really first started. And it was just like back to the whole thing. I didn't even consider myself an artist. So that fear of even putting my work out there was non-existent. Like I would just put it out there because I'm like, I don't consider myself an artist at that point. It was just like, I like music, and I like growing up with Legos. So I'm just going to combine these two and like recreate these album covers out of Legos. You know what I mean? Like that's how it started, really. It was a very simple idea. I did that until I got to the point where those Google images that I was looking for that made specific logos, I couldn't find them. I'm like, damn, I want a Lego to be in a specific pose, but these Google images are none of them. So I'm like, damn, I really need to make this. You know what I mean? Like I can't go off Google images. So that's how 3D got introduced. And I'm like, oh, so actually, in order for me to have a Lego pose in a way, I have to actually make the Lego. You know what I mean? And that's how it started. And from that, it was a trial and error. And I got into like almost a stylized character. And then the Pooh Shiesty album cover happened. They hit me up and they're like, we want you to make a cover. I'm like, yes. Like that was the most money at that time for a commission. I've never made a human character at that time. And I was like, I said yes to it because I'm like, I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And that led to where we are now, And so it's been a crazy ride. A very short amount of time.
That's amazing. Yeah, super short amount of time. I mean, you're an amazing talent to figure all that out in such a I mean, no kidding. No, I'm not blowing smoke. Like, and then in such a short time for you to go from not really even being a quote unquote artist to creating a collection like this and art like this that resonates with so many people. Your future's so bright. I mean, you're gonna be able to do anything you want. You're literally gonna be able to do anything you want, man, for sure.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, we appreciate you too. Usually I ask Jennifer said we're gonna get close to the end now. Usually I ask the guests what other projects and artists that they are into in the space. So if you guys have any other favorite ones, you might.
This is I have to figure out, but his name is Goliath. He's one of my friends. He's probably one of the most talented artists I've come across. His use
Goliath
of color, because he is extremely talented. Like anybody that's
cool.
Like, his use of color. Let me see. Yeah, it's Vine Goliath. VANGOLIATHE, and his project is coming actually later this month.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and his use of color and composition and stuff is second to none. So he's extremely talented. He's done a lot of one-on-ones. He's coming with his own like mini little collection. Just I don't know. The art speaks for itself. Back to the whole thing where like I don't even need to sell people on art. I just need them to be like, oh, look at it. You gotta love it yourself. So that's why.
I found them. I
got to give a shout out to Menji. Menji is an artist that's been doing his thing the past few months. He kind of got his start doing a derivative of a couple Smiles from the team members that they owned and a couple community members. But I've been talking to him a little bit, and I know he's got something coming soon, so I'm excited to see what he comes out. So,
okay.
Shout out, man.
I had no idea. Benji coming out, son? That's beautiful.
And I know you guys did. You guys shine a light on some artists in the community, and I think there was like a kind of a Smiles collective. I think there were 4 artists that you guys helped launch some pieces not too long ago.
The Artist Collective, I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
So it was a really good opportunity to pilot now with the initial artist Abdwale, Grok, a bunch of amazing artists that came through. And Menji's actually in the Artist Collective as well. So
that's what I thought. That's what made me think of it, because I thought I remember seeing that name.
So just kind of, we're an artist-focused project, so doing what we can to up-and-coming artists in the space. So
love that. Yeah, that's something you don't need to do, but it's really good for the community. It's just really good all around. I love that aspect.
And it's back to the whole thing of like, these people are talented, they're phenomenal artists, and you just like, we've been blessed to be able to, in a sense, create this platform that, they can now uplift these artists, back to the whole thing where like, they don't need to go DM 3,000 people like I did, like, I want to be able to just make, the whole goal is not to just go through the door, but like hold it open for the next person to go through, or make it a little bit easier. These people are phenomenal. Like, they just need people to look at their work, back to the whole thing, like when, so it's a blessing to be able to be in a place where you can, to an extent, allow these artists to just be seen, because their work speaks for themselves.
Love that. You guys plan on doing that more, I presume?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Well, thank you, Giovanni and Waheed, so much for taking the time. I know we've kind of been back and forth for a couple of weeks trying to, schedule a time here. And so really honored to have you guys on the show. And hopefully all of our listeners really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, Michael, and also Andy, for y'all just like showing so much love from the get-go. Like I said, that y'all have been here and showing love from way before the project launched. So I'm just grateful to, just be here and allow the space to be able to speak on all this. So thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we're here for the ride. Thank you guys for putting on such a great project, being such a great team, being there for the community, being honest, and you get eaten alive if you're not. And you guys are the real deal. So we love to see it.
Much love.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sure.
And yeah, thank you all. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_Pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.